You know what I really miss, guys? I miss talking about Trails. Ever since I finished my series on Trails character power analysis, where I did a power tier list of every single Trails game that's been released in the West to date, there's just been a void in my soul, and my channel, at least to me, hasn't felt quite the same. Horizon comes out next month. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Of course I'm going to do a character power tier list on that, and probably a couple of other videos on it besides, but that's over a month away, and I wanted to talk about more Trails now. So I thought, okay, I did a power ranking series, but what if I just did a series ranking the cast more broadly in how much I like the characters, how good of characters are they, how well written are they? And so that's what we're doing, starting with the Sky Trilogy. I actually thought about doing the entire series in one big fat list because that just sounds awesome and crazy. And to be honest, I think in the long run I will, but that'll probably be something that I do years from now when the Trails series is finished or close to finished, so I don't have to keep making that list over and over again. So instead, and I'm not going to do these sequentially, I'll probably do these scattered throughout, but we're kicking off today. I'm going to rank every character that was at least on the list that I was able to pull up in Tier Maker. I didn't make this myself, so if there's a character who you thought was missing who I really should have talked about, let me know in the comments. Happy to give my opinion on that character. Of course, because this is my opinion of how well written and how good of characters that these are, this is obviously a highly objective and highly empirical video that you should take what I say extremely seriously, and if I misrank a character in your opinion, you should just completely eviscerate me in the comments. Obviously, right? Okay guys, this video is not scripted. This is meant to be a hair down, fun, grab a drink, hang out with me for a while, and let's talk about some Sky characters. I am going to put bookmarks in the video, so if you want to skip around and just see what I have to say about this character or that, unless they are just so unimportant that they don't even get like a 10-second bit, they are going to have a bookmark. I expect that this list is going to be top heavy because Trails in the Sky is actually my favorite arc in the Trail series to date. If that's annoying, make your own list. Okay? And I'm just going to pick these characters at random. But the first one that is on this list, and why don't we just kick it off with him? It's Cassius Bright. And come on, guys. Cassius Bright is absolutely a peak character, especially in the Sky Trilogy. I would say that in future games, Cassius is wildly underutilized. I mean, this is the guy who is so badass, so powerful, so capable and smart and cunning that Ouroboros had to lure him out of the country. By the way, spoilers, guys. I mean, come on. This is you can't do a video like this without mentioning spoilers, at least to some degree. So if you're spoiler sensitive from Sky games, this probably isn't the right video for you. That said, I will try to give you a heads up if I spoil anything when I talk about characters. I don't think most of them will be, but anyway. So anyway, Ouroboros lures Cassius out of the country in order to put their coup and their machinations to plan. I don't think there's any other character in this entire series that gets that kind of treatment from the antagonists. That's how capable he's sold as in the first trilogy. But then in the remaining games, including the ones where he shows up, he's just this side character who's not really doing all that much. That's a letdown, but that's a letdown, in my opinion, of the writing of future games. In the context of the Sky Trilogy, he is such a powerful, capable character with so much presence, while at the exact same time presenting as just this easygoing, lovable dad who Estelle has no idea just how powerful and famous and high accoladed he really is. He's an extremely well-written character. He's an extremely charming character. He's a compelling character. The battle with him in Trails the Third is one of the most epic boss fights of all time. Yeah, Cassius Bright in the Trails in the Sky trilogy, I should say, is absolutely a peak character. Alright, Carna is popping out. Let's talk about Carna. I'm not placing her in B tier, I'm just dragging her up here to talk about her. Carna is, in my opinion, a letdown because she's so cool and badass looking. She's a hottie. I said what I said. Some of you guys know I got that dog in me, okay? But, They went so hard on this character design to go so soft on the character. Like, she's there, she's a cool bracer, she has her little itty bitty moment, she right on the corner and blah blah blah. Like, what a non-presence, again, for a character that just has such a cool and striking design. Totally failed promise, in my opinion. I was certain when I first met her in my first playthrough that actually she might have been like a party member, right? Or at the very least, a character that has a more prominent role. But alas not. I saw one tier list completely dumpster her and put her at the very bottom of the tier list, which I thought was just goofy and silly. I don't feel that way about Carna. I feel a little bit let down, again, just because she looks so badass. But mostly I just feel indifferent. That to me is kind of like the definition of a C tier character. C for Carna. So yeah, that's where she goes. Why don't we talk about Anelace next? Anelace is a character, I know a lot of people in the fandom really like her. She's a sweetheart, she loves cute things, she loves sweet things, that kind of thing. Right, she's a sword fighter, 8 leaves, 1 blade, all of that stuff. She's in training. Sure, cool. Anelace never really hit for me. She's cute and charming, but she never rises anything above that to me. I probably would consider her a low B. By the way, guys, I might shuffle these around as this list feels out. This is not a scripted video. But yeah, to me, low B. She's likable, but I don't think she has enough presence for me to put her any higher than that. Now, let's talk about Josette next. And I guess we'll talk about all the Capuas, even though I don't feel the same about them all. So let's actually do Kyle and Don. Right, Don is under possession in the beginning of the game, which makes him act as if he's more evil than he really is. So he's like a petty villain for a little while, and then after that he kind of just falls off the map. Not a lot of presence out of Don. He goes down to like a low C. I would say Kyle is a bit more developed and likable than Don. You could tell all along he has a good heart, even though he's kind of got it back to the wall and resorts to banditry. So I would say Kyle is probably more, in my opinion, a high C. Still not a character with a ton of presence. I can't justify putting him higher than that, but sure, I'll put him ahead of Carna. In his moment in the sun, he's likable enough. Now Josette? Josette's actually a character I like quite a bit. I would say Josette's an A tier character. She exists as one of, I would say, Estelle's many foils, right? Where Estelle is just pure hearted gold, right? Josette's more mischievous. She's got that more of a bad girl streak in her. She's willing to resort to underhanded things if she feels like she has to, where Estelle would never, right? And of course, they are quote unquote in competition for Joshua's affection, although you know there's no contest there. It's still funny. Their rivalry still is amusing. I do like how much of a brat she is. I think she's a very well-developed villain and frenemy, and eventually just friend. And even in the Sky arc itself, she goes through a ton of development, where unlike some of the other characters who we'll be talking about on this list, is earned. I think Josette's a fantastic character. I don't think she's peak, but I have no qualms putting her in A tier for sure. Very good character. I like Josette. And I happen to be looking at him. Another character I like a lot is Nial, right? Just that kind of hard-boiled reporter who's always behind on his work. He'll do anything for a scoop. He's got a good heart. He's not, a hero. He's not a warrior. But he's still willing to stick his neck out and do what he can as a patriot of his kingdom when the kingdom is in trouble. And he helps in his way, right? As a journalist and a reporter. I just always liked this character. Very charming character. He's a bit of a trope, but it's a good trope and it's well executed. No complaints. And since we're talking about Nial, why don't we talk about his sidekick, Dorothy? I would say for me, Dorothy's more of a B tier character. She's still quirky and really likable, right? A complete ditz and an airhead, very forgetful, very irresponsible, rushes into danger not because she's brave, but because she will miss the forest through the trees, right? That's her character. She's an extraordinarily talented photographer, right? A genius at photography, and then otherwise can't tie her own shoes. And Nial constantly keep her on a leash and keep looking after her. Again, quirky, charming, a little one note, but I like her. I think she's, for me, a B tier character. Since we already did Carna and Anelace, why don't we do the rest of their crew? Grant, I kind of feel the same way about Grant that I feel about Carna. He has a kind of cool design, right? He really looks like a protag. He's a bracer, he's a warrior, blah, blah, blah. But his presence is just basically not there. He's pretty forgettable, frankly. In fact, I really did forget about him until I recently replayed Sky first chapter this year on the remake, right? I would have remembered Carna because, anyway. But Grant is... he's there. He's cool. He's likable, but not a lot of presence. Now, Kurt, on the other hand, I did remember, and that helps that he gets that role as a mentor in Estelle and Anelace's training arc in early second chapter. He's such an easygoing, likable, cool, wizened, older bracer. But, he doesn't stand out. He's likable. I think he's a low B tier character for the role he plays. I really couldn't see putting him any higher. I happen to be looking at the 3 thugs from Ruan, and yeah, I don't even remember all of their names, dude. Like, one of them's Dean. Okay, I remember that. Like, yeah, I'm putting them in D tier. I know that they get their little development. They go from petty thugs to, not so petty thugs. They train hard to enter the arena. You get that arc, that awful chapter in 3rd where Agate kicks their ass and you have to play as them and beat Agate, and I hate that fight. I really do. I don't know, these characters just never hit for me. I know that they try to redeem themselves and they hit their redemption arc, and I'm a sucker for a redemption arc, but if you think they deserve to be higher, you do you. They are just petty thugs in the beginning who kind of hit their stride, but whatever. They're D tier characters. I don't love them. And that's that. And since we talked about redemption arcs, why don't we talk about, quite possibly, my favorite redemption arc in Trails, Colonel Alan Richard. And let's not pretend that I'm not going to put him in peak. Come on, he's ahead of Cassius even. Richard is one of my favorite characters in the entire series, right? If you've played the first chapter, you know that he's essentially the main antagonist of the coup. Of course, there's puppet masters behind that. We'll talk about some of them later, okay? But yeah, this is a redemption arc done right that is completely earned because you understand his motivation, his fear of Liberal's frailty, and as a patriot wanting to strengthen his country by any means necessary, even relying on shadowy organizations and really powerful, archaic technology. Right, but then learning the error of his ways, in no small part from Cassius socking him on the jaw at the end. But Richard does his time in the slammer, gets released, becomes, like a delivery, like a shipping services guy who still supports Liberal through logistics that way. And of course, you get to use him in Sky the Third, and he's arguably the most badass playable character in the entire series. He's so effectively good. We already talked about that in my Trails the Third power ranking. But what a likable character who I wish the later entries of Trails utilized more, because he's just such a great character, and it's too bad that they don't. But in the Sky Trilogy, this is a peak character all the way through. He's a great villain. He's even kind of a likable villain who, while you probably won't agree with his motivations, I didn't, but you understand his motivations, and you understand how he sees a light, and his redemption. It's all earned, it's all plausible, outstanding, peak character. This is Trails character writing at its absolute best. And Richard might end up being the top of this list. We'll see where the chips fall. He's an outstanding character. I guess we'll do Amalthea next. And by contrast, I gotta say, she doesn't hit for me. I wish she just had some motivation of her own outside of being obsessed with Richard in every way possible and just doing his bidding. Like, it's endearing, right? You get it that she really loves him, right? Both in terms, I think, romantically, and in terms of just how much she respects and looks up to him. But, I don't know. There's just not enough, there's nothing else there, right? And it just makes her feel kind of one note to me, and like she kind of lacks motivation of her own. So, I don't know. It's high D or low C for me. I'm going to put her low C. She's not like an antagonist that really hits. And like, unlike Richard, who gets his redemption arc, and I mean, she does too, right? Because she redeems with him, essentially. But again, it's the same thing. She's just his sidekick. That's all she is, and I get it. And a cast this big, characters can't be more than that, but then I'm not going to put her more than that on this tier list. We good? We good. I'm looking at the orphans from the orphanage, and I mean, I understand that they're different characters, but man, I'm just so indifferent. Like, yeah, they play a role, they do their thing. Polly has her door with the dragon, and she goes on a romp with the dragon, and it's weird, and I still don't know what to make of that door to this day. It's cute. If it hits for you, if you like it, that's cool. For me, I'm kind of indifferent to them, and so I'm just going to put them as a batch in the C tier. If you hate that, rip my guts out in the comments and tell me how Clem is a peak character, or Polly, or whatever. Like, Mary is extremely mature and responsible for her age, and that's actually a trope I just don't like in anime and video games, when a 10-year-old acts like a 40-year-old. I like when kids are actually portrayed as kids, and so the rest of them I probably like a little bit more than her, so we'll put her at the bottom. But, you know, none of that, I don't care enough about any of them to put them higher. I just don't. Okay? Okay. Alright. I see her staring at me, and I don't know if there's many characters on this list who I would consider bad, but this is definitely one of them. And for me, I'm talking about Erika Russell. Fight with me in the comments if you disagree about it, but really, honestly, I cannot stand her. I just can't. In my opinion, she basically just exists to hate Agate. To hate him and constantly bully him and screw with him, even though Agate, as far as the game series has gone to this point, hasn't shown any romantic interest in Tita. Thank God. That's a ship that I don't want to touch right now, but forget that for a second. Erika, again, I would say she's one note, but she's two note, right? She's hate Agate, dote on Tita, right? And yeah, and she's a scientist and a genius like the entire Russell family, blah, blah, blah. I just don't like this character. She just doesn't hit for me, and maybe you feel differently. And again, it would be okay if she did it sometimes, but it's like basically every other line of her is her eyes turning into those crazy stars and her cracking her knuckles and looking at Agate. And it's like, okay, we've had enough. And that's how I feel about her. So I think she's a bad character. Disagree with me if you want to disagree with me. And where I think Erika is bad and annoying, I think her husband and Tita's father, Dan, is just kind of bland and boring. Dan doesn't do much for me. He taught Cassius how to use a staff, and Cassius blew him out of the water, you know, yada, 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 yada. He's more easygoing, but I still don't accept you, Agate. Blah, blah, blah. I get it. And I get it because the age gap between Agate and Tita is just, again, I want nothing to do with that. I'm not a fan of that ship either. I would be a lot happier if it was just like a brother-sister kind of relationship, which I think is how Agate sees it, but it's clearly not how Tita sees it. We'll talk about them later. Anyway, boring character. Let's move on. Maybe this will be a hot take. Let me talk about a character I like, who I bet you a lot of people don't like. I see him looking at me. Gilbert. He's going into A tier, probably like low A. Gilbert is one of he's just such a he's a likable villain because of how petty and unlikable he is. But despite that, he never gives up. He's so persistent. He's so determined to rise the ranks of Ouroboros, even though he never will. He'll never have the capabilities. He's clearly a disposable pawn to them, but he keeps showing back up again and again. I will be a high tier villain. I don't know why. It's so amusing to me. I love fighting against him every time I do. Maybe you find that annoying, but Gilbert just hits for me. I think he's a low A tier villain. If you disagree, you disagree. You know what? Since we already did the Russells, let's do Tita. Oh, Tita. I think Tita is a high A. I thought about low S. She's so charming. She's so cute and adorable. She is so well written that you will just fall in love with Tita the way basically the whole cast does, right? Everybody wants to protect her, and she wants to fight to protect everybody she cares about in turn, and that creates a lot of the drama, including the drama between her and Agate. I think she's a very charming character, right? She's an inventor genius, but she still has that child in her, right? She's, of course, an exceptional child. She's gifted, she's very intelligent, but she still presents as a child, right? Where, like I said, Mary was like a little bit too mature. I think Tita's actually better portrayed as a child, right? Super genius, which is what it is. I can accept that. Outstanding character. Adds a lot to the plot. If you thought she was a peak or an S tier character, I wouldn't fight you on it. I'm going to land at high A, and yeah, we're good there. And I said I'm doing the Russells. I would say Grandpa Professor Russell is a high B tier character. Right, he's a bit of a trope, right? Kind of like almost the absent-minded professor, always in his work, always tinkering, always dicking around and trying to make the next new gadget. And that's how you get his attention. That's how the main characters do get his attention when they present him the Black Orb. All of a sudden they have his attention. Ooh, what's this? I gotta cut it open, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's a trope, but it doesn't mean it's a bad trope, and there are layers to him. He's very protective of his family. He's absolutely a patriot. When he gets captured in first chapter, he doesn't cave to any threats that are made of him when he's under their custody. So he's a strong and likable character who does a lot to support the party. Again, tropey, but tropes aren't inherently bad when they're well executed and well written. And I think for me, that lands him on a high B, low A, but we'll do high B for now, and if I change my mind later, I'll change my mind later. Whereas, I guess by contrast, a tropey character that didn't quite hit for me was Matron Theresa. I mean, it's in the name, Mother Teresa, right? Like, this is, you know, she's a lovable character, right? A woman with a heart of gold running an orphanage. She has no money, and she gets so much abuse in chapter 2. I get it. She's a very likable character, but just like so by the numbers of the trope. So to me, that's like a C tier character. I don't know. I'll put her higher up because like I don't have much love for these other characters too. We'll put her behind Carna just because Carna's design goes so hard. I'm looking at the Vanders. Let's do the Vanders. I guess we'll start with Mueller. To be honest with you guys, I really don't love Mueller. He's just, right, he's the straight man to Olivier's total wild shenanigans, etc. Mueller Vander, is he a low B or a high C, right? Because he gets enough story significance. He's even a playable character in the third. Like, how low can I possibly put him? He's a badass. He tries to keep Olivier on a leash. He has a cool little rivalry with Julia that I find likable. Okay, I guess low B. He doesn't really hit for me. He's kind of a boring character. He is that like dutiful bodyguard knight trope, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe he hits for you. I'm gonna put him on a low B. I might even knock him down to high C depending on how the list balances out. We'll see. Zechs, it basically just doesn't have his role in he has more role later in the series. Here, it's like, I don't know. I'll put him ahead of the kids. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about Zechs here. He shows up at the gate, blah, blah, blah. He's the Imperial General. Oh, eye patch, scary. Okay, Zechs, we'll hear about you more when we get to the Steel series. For now, your presence is Let's move on. Alright, why don't we just pick out some more side characters for the hell of it. Let's do Gustav. I think by way of side characters, I actually really like him. He doesn't have a ton of screen time, but the screen time he gets, he's so clever. He's so, snappy on his feet. This guy is so ride or die for the factory and for his people and for Murdoch and Russell. Again, for a character of his scope and role, this guy, for starters, has a design that goes pretty hard, and he really does a lot of stuff. So, Spicy, I'm going to put him ahead of I'll put him between Kurt and Anelace. Yeah, he's a B-tier character for me. This is, a tertiary character firing on all cylinders. So, right, so for the size of his role, he's, I think, an excellent character. I like Gustav quite a bit. We'll put him there. Mayor Dalmor, on the other hand, I think he's a D-tier character. And it's not just because he's like a really greedy, really rapacious, evil prick. It's just because that by way of Trails villains, he's so unnuanced, right? Trails, probably better than any other RPG series that I've ever played, is really good at writing villains that are gray, or maybe not even villains at all, right? Antagonists, but not villains. Duvalie in future entries is a good example of that, right? She is not a villain, but for most of that series, she's an antagonist. Or Arianrod, same thing. This guy's just evil. He's just a petty, greedy mayor who will do anything to get ahead. He resorts to trying to feed your people to dogs at the first sight of pressure. And, right, you know, it's not that evil villains are bad. There are some evil villains on this list who I think are much better. And again, this guy was never written to be like the big bad. But where like Gilbert has like a lot of quirk and charm, and maybe it helps that he keeps coming back. He kind of like wins you over with his persistence. This guy's just unnuanced, and like it's fun. Like he works for what he has to do. But by way of Trails villains, right, he's very simple, very rote. He's not bad, but I think he's a D-tier character, and that's where we land with it. Speaking of D-tier characters, because he happens to be on my mind, I'm thinking of Duke Dunan. Now, I could hear some objections, but he does get redemption, right? He does clean up his act through second chapter and the third, and like, to a degree, that's true. But, okay, well, let's just unpack it. Like, in Sky first chapter, he just exists to hate him, right? He is Chloe's foil. He is the spoiled, rotten, rich, selfish noble who can't think about anything but himself and base needs and base pleasures. He's crass. He hits on Estelle, who's a teenager. He kicks you guys out of your hotel room, right? He's super hateable and not complicated. He's just absurdly selfish, right? He's a caricature. And then eventually he becomes more of a patriot and more of a noble. That's true, but it's like, how? Why? Right? It kind of comes like, whereas like Richard's redemption feels earned, Dunan's just feels like it's there to say, oh, that's character development, which is better than nothing. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not super sold on it. And like, I still don't think he's a great character. He's going to go in high D. If you think his redemption deserves him a higher spot, fight me. We can do that. That's cool. But that's where I'm putting him. Okay? Let's move on. Side character who I really like. And again, some of this is probably because I like hot ladies. But let's talk about Ina. Ina, especially like in the remake, I'm like, oh man, Ina is such a baddie. But she's a charming side character. Again, like a lot of like these. Again, I would probably call her a tertiary character. Maybe you could squeeze her into secondary if you really want. But for a character of that limited screen time, she's so fleshed out, right? She's kind of got this like mother vibe to Estelle and Joshua, right? You know, she's a mentor in that way. She is Scherazard's best buddy. She's a drinking buddy, right? She has the quirk that she can drink anybody under the table. And she's just got this cool, quiet confidence about her. Right, I can't put her any higher than B, but yeah, I'm gonna put her in B. And I'm gonna put her high B. My overshooting Ina, I don't know. She's a very well written side character. You know who she is. You know what she likes to do in her time off. You know how she is. What more can you ask for a character of like this size and role? I think she actually is a very well written character. Aside from the fact that she's a total fox, okay? Alright, let's move on. Let's talk about a character that might be a sleeper hit for me, because maybe you don't like him as much as I do. I'm thinking about General Morgan. I think General Morgan is an A-tier character. Like, yeah, he is such an obstacle in Trails in the Sky, but like, you feel like you know this guy, right? This just stubborn, set in his ways old guy. He has a heart of gold, right? He really loves his country. He wants to do what's best for his nation. He wants to protect and serve the people, and he endeavors to do so. But he's so stubborn and so set in his ways that he can't see past it, right? And he was the mentor of Cassius, arguably the most powerful and smart, right, and clever guy on the continent, or at least one of the ones in Liberl. That's how he's treated, right? He's his mentor. He's so bitter that Cassius left the military to become a bracer. So you understand who he is. You understand the chip on his shoulder. To me, it's really well written, right? This is, again, like an antagonist, at least at first, but not a villain. That's Trails writing at its best. Yeah, he's an A-tier character. I don't think he's higher than any of these other characters, but yeah, that's how I feel about General Morgan. I like him a lot, so do with that what you will. Why don't we talk about Cid next? And I gotta say, you know what? I like Cid. For a character of his size and role, you really gotta feel for who he is, right? He's a real patriot. He sees the coup happening. He doesn't approve of it. But unlike Morgan, right, who will openly defy it and you'll have to trank him down, right, to stop him, Cid, I think, is a more plausible insurgent who plays along. He doesn't want to stick his neck too far out, but he wants to oppose it as covertly as he can from the inside. That's a really plausible position to take. That's probably the kind of position I would take in his position. So I find Cid really relatable. He's really likable. Again, for a character that doesn't have like a huge role in the series, I respect it. Like, yeah, I like Cid actually quite a bit. I'm going to put him like, I don't know, ahead of Dorothy. Is that too high? You tell me, but that's where he falls for me. I see some Genus students staring me in the face. Why don't we just do a whole bunch of Genus Academy students and see where we land? I guess we'll start with Hans. Boring, right? He's your teenage boy. He's into girls. He's trying his best. Like, yeah, he probably likes Jill. You know, when Joshua and Estelle stay at the academy for a little while, he becomes Joshua's best bro. He's Josh's frat bro. Characterizes him, blah, 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 blah. Okay, Hans, but like, yeah, you're kind of forgettable, dude. Like, I like you. I'll put you ahead of the kids, I guess. I remember you better than ahead of Zechs, too. But like, yeah, and I don't know, Grant probably deserves to be back there, too. Making some spot changes here. Like, but, yeah, like, maybe like that. Like, you know, you got your frat bro vibe going on, but you're also student council. Cool. I like Jill a little bit more. Jill's really quirky, right? She's the mastermind behind the play. I think Jill's probably like a low B character. You know who she is, right? She's that like female who reads too much manga and really wants to write these quirky romances and stuff. And the play that she wrote and directed is really cool. It's such a peak scene, especially in the remake. So sure, Jill, you get low B for that. I respect the hustle. For such a small character, she actually really is kind of memorable. So you go, girl. We're doing Genus students. Leo, like, I barely remember. Like, it's a miracle that I remember your name, dude. Like, you know, you didn't leave that big of an impression on me. Sure, Sitlotsi. Like, right, he was kind of like, he was just there to be like, you know, one of the few serious foils to Lechter. Cool, yawn, let's move on. Lucy, those of you who've played through a lot of Trails know, she gets a lot more screen time later. Like, she never gets a huge role, but she recurs. She also becomes a complete fox. I'll do my best to not factor that, especially here because she's a teenager here, and homie don't play that. Okay, but like, you know, later on she's in her 20s. But anyway, like in this role, she's also kind of just like, you know, Leo's a straight man. She's like the straight woman to Lechter, trying to keep him on a leash during that one flashback scene. You know, she's also a C tier just for being, you know, a pretty student. And, you know, there's a suggested romantic interest in Lechter. I don't know. We'll put you here, Luce. You don't leave that much of an impression. Let's do Lechter next. Lechter. We're just putting him up here. I'm not placing him yet. I remember, I've been, for those of you who are Trails fans, you might be a fan of the channel, the Kiseki Nut. It's a much bigger channel than mine. I love his channel. It's a great channel. I remember he did like a character ranking series years and years and years ago where he would feature community comments on characters. And I'll never forget the comment that one of his listeners made about Lechter, where he said, you know, throughout the whole Trail series, he said, Lechter is just this character whom I had such high hopes for, but he could never live up to his own hype. Which is to say, like, in the future series, you expect something big from him. Like, the other shoe is going to drop, and it really just doesn't quite. But, spoilers, I guess, but whatever. Like, I'm not saying much. But, that's not what we're talking about here, right? In the Sky arc, Lechter only appears in that one flashback. And I have to say, that whole sequence, he is the reason. It's so memorable and it's so lasting, right? That moon door is the promise that the Crossbell and Steel games failed to deliver on. But the promise, in my opinion, is brilliantly written. Lechter is so mysterious and compelling in that flashback sequence that I was hyped. I wanted to know more about him. I wanted to know what the hell was going on here too. So the promise that Sky the Third wrote that the other games failed to deliver on isn't Sky the Third's fault. Here, Lechter is peak. I said what I said. Fight me if you disagree. We're doing genus. Well, let's do Sieg. You're a bird. I love animals. You get to go in B tier, bird. Okay? Kloe. I'm not the biggest fan. Kloe, in such a colorful cast of characters, she is such the trope, right? The model student, the princess with the heart of gold, obviously the heir apparent, all of this stuff. Like, okay, yeah, she's a very likable character. She's a charming character. In Remake, she's voiced by Christina V, who is probably my favorite active voice actress, bar none. And even that, I don't know. Kloe just doesn't hit for me. She's so straight and narrow. And I get that you need some of those in your cast, but I don't know. Like, I'm going to put her somewhere like here. She's like high. I'll put her ahead of Ina, okay? Kloe's high B. I know that there are Kloe stans in my audience, at least in terms of her combat potential. Maybe you feel differently about her character writing. To me, she's just kind of boring, okay? Like, I will say this. Spoiler alert, guys. Her love confession to Joshua in that flashback arc in Sky the Third was an extremely endearing and well-written scene. Okay, you know what? For that scene is so good. Kloe gets to go into A. You get to go into A, Kloe. I'm rethinking this in real time. Most of the time, I find her boring and she just fades into the background behind more interesting characters. But that scene is brilliant. I really like that scene. And that alone, you know, it's my list, my rules. A tier, you go, girl. Let's do some rapid fire here. Old Man Lugrin, Jean, and Elnan. All three of these guys, right? Guild branch guy with a heart of gold who wants to help out. And he's a good little guild branch official. Cool, but kind of forgettable. So you guys can all come down to like here, okay? Hot take, did I miss somebody's like darling of the Sky series? I don't know. That's how I feel. I'm trying to speed this up a little bit, okay, guys? Now, whereas Kilika, of course, is a little bit different, and we're not even talking about future games, right? Unlike the others, Kilika does get some play throughout the future, but even here, right, she's got that trio. Is it a love triangle? Is it not? With Jin and Walter. That elevates her a little bit more. I still don't find Kilica super compelling, right? She's cool, she's taciturn, you know the archetype, right? The cool, badass Eastern girl who is clever, she's one step ahead, she can also throw down in a fight, she uses fans, which is kind of cool. Like, I like her. I'll put her, like, I don't know, ahead of Sid. That's what we'll do with Kilica. B-tier character, for sure. Heacmaster Collins, a sweet old man. He's kind of like the Guildmasters to me. A trope, just this older dude who wants to help out. Cute, cool, yay. Hilda. Okay, I actually really like Hilda. For a character who doesn't get like a ton of spotlight and screen time, right? Just that head maid who's been working for probably so long and just has that sort of air about her that she can even push around the guards during the coup to get, you know, people in and out of the Queen's room and stuff. It's charming. I like it. Low B, I guess ahead of the, you know, like somewhere around here. You might think that's too high. I don't care. It's my list. I like Hilda, okay? Campanella is hard. It's hard to think about Campanella because he appears in like basically every game, but he's a good villain, right? He's the fool, right? And there's so much to him that we still probably don't know to this day, right? He sets up a lot of mystery. Who is he? What motivates him? What is he doing? Right? That's a good villain, in my opinion. I don't know. Low A. You could disagree with that. Like, that's how I feel about Campanella. Hard to forget him. He's got that kind of presence. Queen Alicia. Queen Alicia is a really well-written character. It takes, right, and again, it's kind of just that it factor. That air of nobility and dignity just oozes off of her portrait and her writing. The script writer for Alicia was on point and firing on all cylinders. You really can believe that this is the beloved queen of a kingdom. She's an excellent character. Definitely an A-tier character. Like, yeah, probably I like Josette more. Probably like there is where I'd put Alicia. Wonderful character. Giliath Osborne. Alright, Giliath Osborne. So you remember how I said Lechter was this extremely well-written promise that future games failed to deliver? Well, in Sky the Third, also through doors, Giliath Osborne is an extremely well-written promise that the future games more than deliver on. This guy is arguably the best written villain in RPG history, period. And he always steals the scene in every scene he is. He's got that aura, that big dick. I'm wearing a shirt right now that says Big Nick Energy. Giliath Osborne has that big dick energy about him all the damn time. Right from the very first flashback, right? Like, you know, it's like the home run. I think I saw a YouTuber say this, where like, you know, the batter aims for the fences and then they knock it out of the park. That's what this is. He's an outstanding character. Even from just that one door, he's absolutely peak. And behind, I actually found Lechter more compelling here, but like, it's close. You could swap these two guys. Awesome stuff. Totally, like he is one of the big reasons why Sky the Third is mandatory for me, because that is his debut, and what a debut. Mayor Maybell, she's likable, she's charming, she's young, she's capable, she's very hardworking, she loves her people, hard to dislike her, I don't know, like low B, not as quirky as some of the other characters, but again, likable. I'd put her somewhere around here. And even though for different reasons, I feel similarly about Lila, right? Just this really competent and sharp maid, always looking out for her, keeping her on track, likable character. She could sit right next to Maybell. I kind of see them as a package anyway. We already talked about Kilica, so why don't we talk about Walter? Walter, and again, we're only talking about Sky. So Walter gets a ton of play in the Daybreak games, if you know. We're not factoring that. Here, he's okay, right? He's very menacing. He's badass. Every time he's on screen, you know that you're in for a rough time, right? His S-break is really memorable, where he like lights the lighter in the dark and lights his smoke. I like him, right? It's just pure aura, pure toughness. Like, I don't think he's an extremely compelling or well-written character here, but Walter can get like a lowish B for me. I'd probably put him like here. I like what Walter accomplishes as a villain, and the fact that he does have this triangle thing with Jin and Kilika, I don't know. I guess I'll put him next to Kilika. I see them as almost like a package in a weird way too. And you know something? Despite being a main character, I kind of feel the same way about Jin. Jin, he just never completely hits. He's very likable, right? He's in the original games, he's the oldest guy in your party. He's so experienced and he's laid back and he's a mentor to the youngins. And unlike Agate, he's not a dick about it, right? But he just doesn't really resonate and stick with you the way other characters do. I really wish this trio would just get resolved better than it ever has. I'll put him at the head of the three since he is a major playable character. And high B, I even feel surprised that I put him that high. Like, I might rethink. I am rethinking this. Like, for characters of what these guys are supposed to do, I expect more from them. They're like low B to me. Okay? Hot take, I don't know, make your own list or rip my guts out in the comments. Like, because I understand, like, I have some smaller characters ahead of them. But these are characters that are punching above their weight class. Like, these guys should be doing more than that they do. That's how I feel about it. You disagree? Let me know. Chief Murdoch. You're a likable head of city. Not super memorable, but you're hardworking. You have your quirks. You're trying to stop smoking, and you struggle with that. Blah, blah, blah. I like you. You're quirky, but you're not, like, super memorable. You can be, I don't know, like, somewhere around here. Carna's too high. Like, she's hot, but it's something like that. Okay. I like it. We'd have to spend a lot of time talking about him. Actually, I talked about Duke Doonan. I don't like him, right? He's just a caricature. He exists to hate him and to basically gas up Chloe as the obvious successor. I don't like characters that are like that, who are just clear plot devices. But I gotta say, his butler, Philip, makes him plausible. Like, this character would not be plausible if there wasn't this extremely loyal, extremely capable, extremely likable guy with a heart of gold, constantly by his side, constantly cleaning up his messes in a way that feels genuine and authentic and plausible. Philip is an extremely well-written character. I said what I said. This guy's an A-tier character for me. Like, all the way up here. That's how I feel about it. Hot take? I don't know. But I said what I said. I like him. I see Jack and Hale down here. These guys, don't they just get like a card game or something in Trails of Third? And there's the Gambler Jack books, right? These guys will get more play later on in the Calvard arc, but they don't really get any play here. They're not bad characters. They don't really get to do much. I'm going to put them in C. I know that they're beloved characters in the community, and that might be because some people like reading those books more than I do. I gander, but I don't dive into them and swim in them. Ain't nobody got time for that. There's only so many hours in a day. You know what I'm saying? So, to me, C-tier characters, I feel okay about it. I missed Mayor Klaus. Again, he kind of fits like this bill, right? Just this older dude who you love, who's beloved by the people, who cares about his people. He never gets to do anything, like, too crazy, but you can tell he likes his people. He's a charming old dude. He gets to fit, like, right in this pack. I'll put him at the top of the pack, but, like, I consider, like, all 5 of these guys, like, here are, like, the same archetype. These, like, older people that just want to help out. You know, it's nice, it's charming, but I don't think it rises above C tier. I see we got Celeste over here, right? She's sort of like the curator or keeper of the Hermit's Garden, as I remember, right? She helps you out there in Trails of Third in that entire scenario. She's not super memorable to me. It's cool, like, what she does to help out, but maybe you'll like her more. I kind of put her in the helpful category here. Celeste can go there. It's been a while since we talked about Peak, so let's do a Peak character. Let's talk about Louve, and let's not pretend that he's not going into Peak. Louve is one of my favorite antagonists in video game history. and he's an amazing antagonist here, whose motivations you can understand. He's completely badass and cool looking. That helps. And he's one of the characters, spoiler alerts, guys, okay? Spoiler alerts. He's one of the few characters that the Trails series actually kills and keeps dead, and it happens early in the series. And his legacy and his presence and his aura, his sheer aura, just carries on through it. I mean, right, when you visit Hamel several games later, and the song is just a sad leitmotif of Silver Will, it just gives you chills. He is a big brother figure to Joshua. He has a good heart, but was dealt a really rough hand. And he made some really tough choices and comes around a little too late. But I forgive you, Louve. You're an amazing character. Like, yeah, I'm going to put him ahead of Cassius. I like Richard more. But yeah, Louve is awesome. Again, Trails villain / antagonist writing at its highest level. Some other rapid fire ones. We got the ambassadors, right? Davil and where is she? Elisa. Like, I don't know. They're there. I don't care that much about them. I could put them like ahead of Zechs or probably behind Zechs and Lucy. Come on, we're not going to put him ahead of Lucy. Like I said, ahead of the orphanage kids who didn't do much for me. You could disagree with that. That's where I think they land. Ambassadors, ain't nobody care about them. Let's move on, right? Let's move on. Okay, why don't we tackle some third characters now, right? Why don't we just do that? I'm not going to do the Garden Master because I'm going to, for reasons. If you know, you know. And if you don't know, you're better off not knowing, okay? It's here because I didn't make the list. See, the Garden Master's here. I'm not going to touch that, okay? Rufina is an A-tier character. For a character who is, spoiler alert, dead before you even play the game, you could just feel her presence living on through Kevin and Ries. Through the flashbacks, she's so charming. She's so likable. She's so dignified. I really like Rufina. I think this is the example of like if those of you who watch anime, like you can make characters who are gone before, right? This is not a fully example, but like Hamel, right? Like how you can just have a character Himmel, I'm sorry. Hamel's the city in this game. Himmel the hero, right? Characters through flashback can really grow on you. She did for me. I really like Rufina. I'm going to put her like behind Kloe. Put ahead of Kloe would be like a super hot take. I think she's a charming character. Her presence clearly affects everything going on in Trails the Third. She means a lot to Kevin and Ries. Why don't we talk about them? Ries, for a character who really only gets like one game in the sun, is also just an extraordinarily likable and charming character. I like her a lot. I absolutely think she's an A-tier character. Like, high A-tier character. Like, behind Tita. I thought I put it, yeah, like between you. Like, I like Ries a lot, right? She's got a bottomless stomach. She's got a heart of gold. She really loves Kevin. She misses her sister. She's, right, devout. She's loyal to the church. And the church in this game is generally, I would say, a force for good, unlike most JRPGs. You like her a lot. She's just a very sweet, lovable character who I think if she had more time, she could become a peak character, but she just doesn't have enough time. And since we're doing it, we're going to talk about Kevin. And again, let's not pretend Kevin isn't peak. And I got to say, Kevin, for me, is the most improved character, probably in like my video game experience history. I hated him in basically the entirety of Trails' second chapter. I couldn't stand him. And then Trails the Third comes on, and I totally changed my mind about him. I think he's an outstanding protagonist. He's a very layered and complicated character, a depressing character, but he puts on a good front. And yeah, like Kevin's amazing. I would put Kevin... I'm not going to put him ahead of... I like Cassius more. I'd put him between Cassius and Lechter. Definitely a peak character. Extraordinarily well written, extraordinarily layered. He carries, with others, but he carries Trails the Third so hard. I was so not sold on Trails the Third's format, but his and Ries's stories are so compelling. Like, sign me up, okay? Let's finish up these Ouroboros enforcers. Luciola, she's okay. She doesn't hit for me the way some of the others do. I think she's a high C tier, right? Like, her relationship to Scherazard has my attention. And, you know, she's hinted to appear in Crossbell. I'm not going to spoil it any further, but if you know, you know. That's cool. That's neat. There's some intrigue. I don't feel like she was developed as well as some of the others. I don't feel like her and Scherazard resolved things in quite the way I would have liked. That's maybe me. We'll do Schera after I finish Bleu Blanc. He's quirky enough and memorable enough. Like, you'll never forget him. And the crap he puts you through if you do those side quests. I guess that's something. He's like a mid-B tier character for me. I'd probably put him like here. Him and Olivier kind of build that rivalry, which is amusing. Olivier just inserts himself as Bleu Blanc's rival, and Bleu Blanc takes the bait. We'll have to do Schera and Olivier next, won't we? We'll have to do Schera. Schera is best girl of the Sky arc. She is a total fox. I love her to pieces. Right? She reads her tarot cards and tries to tell fortunes. It's super charming. You can tell that she came from a circus troupe. And despite being experienced and wiser than, say, Estelle and Joshua, she still has a temper on her. She can still snap. She'll use her feminine wiles when she has to. She has an alcohol problem. She has a very compelling romance arc with you-know-who, if you know, you know. There's so much here. I think Schera is an underappreciated Trails character. In the Sky arc, she's one of my very favorite. I love her to absolute pieces, and she's best girl. So yeah, Schera's peak. Like, here. I think Schera's an outstanding character. I love her so much. Okay? Okay. And then Olivier. And come on, like, Olivier is one of the most memorable characters in video games, period. The guy's larger than life. He's constantly funny and charming, and he just inserts himself into weird situations. He has no problem being the butt of his own joke, but also just snapping and being serious and being a super genius when he has to. He is such a memorable and lovable character. Matt Mercer, who's, of course, just a legendary voice actor at this point, really brought him to life in the remake. Olivier, yeah, Olivier's like better than any other character I've talked about. He absolutely is. Olivier is completely peak. Like, absolutely peak. Let's do some other characters who are kind of like side or smaller, who I just haven't resolved yet. We have Mrs. Mao. She owns the hot springs at Elmo. Sweet, helpful older woman. Do we have a category on this list for sweet, helpful older people who aren't super memorable, but you can't dislike them? Oh yeah, we do. That's where Mrs. Mao goes. Come on. Julia's not a side character. Like, she's more than a side. She's a playable character, right? Lena, Estelle's mom. Sweetheart, heart of gold. You only know her through flashbacks, but you can't not love her. Where do I put her? She's above C, but I don't think she can be A. I don't think she has that much presence. I'd put her like here. All right. I like Lena, but, you know, by dint of the story circumstances, she can't get that much screen time. Can she, fam? Okay? If you think that's low because, you know, she's the mother of Bestelle and whatever, but that's where I think I put her, objectively speaking. Julia, I just don't love Julia. I don't hate her. She's just a straight, honorable knight, guard, sworn to the crown. I am Julia. I protect my kingdom. Okay, yeah, you're a trope. Okay, I don't hate you. I don't love. Like, she's like Mueller. She's right next to Mueller. And no, I actually like Mueller more than her. No, she's C tier. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, you think I'm doing Julia dirty? I think she's like here. That's how I feel. Tar and feather me. We never done Ein Selnate yet, have we? Ein is a character with a big presence. You can tell she's just an absolute badass, super powerful, head of the Growl's Raider, but doesn't, like, right, how much presence does she really have? Right, there's aura there, but how much are we really doing with that aura? And right, there's Carnelia, and some people, like the Kiseki nut, will read those stories and be like, well, those stories are cool, so I don't. I'm like, you know, if you want to give a character presence, put them on the friggin' screen, okay? That's how I feel. I still like her like more than Julia, just for all that aura. So that's where I put Ein Selnate. Right, she's not a character I think a lot about, but she's a character who I really hope to see more of in future games, and we could talk about her if and when I do like a master tier list, probably years from now. Alright, we're getting close to the top. Let's do Agate next. Agate is a character who I want to love a lot more than I do. I don't dislike him, but he is so unlikable for like most, like almost the entire first game. He softens up a little bit, but like the bad boy with a heart of gold can be done more charismatically than Agate does it. And maybe that's part of his charm, that this guy has a charisma score of 5, okay? And that's the thing. He's so gruff. You know that guy in real life, right? That like warehouse worker who will scream at you if you ask him for a favor, but he'll always deliver on that favor. And yes, his relationship with Tita and that door where he fights her in the robot and the things he does there, it's charming stuff. It's really endearing. The ship thing, I'm not even touching that. I find it gross. I want nothing to do with that. But beyond that, right, and he gets in his interactions with Louvet and the dragon, Agate gets to be a badass. He does soften up. He does clean up a little bit. I still like him. I wanted Agate to be peak, but realistically, he's B. He's high B, is how I feel about Agate. Okay? My people are getting cut off down here, but that's fine. Like, they put girl Joshua's on this. They have the cat Antoine. We like animals in this channel. So just without discussion, Antoine's B. Helpful little kitty. We like you. Okay, we're saving Estelle and Joshua for last because they're the Sky Pro tags. Let's do Weissman next. Unapologetically evil. And this was the one, like, twist. Because Sky First Chapter was the first game I ever played in this series. You got me, Professor Alba. You got me. You got me, dude. Spoiler alert, everybody. Spoiler alert. Professor Alba is the big bad of the Sky duology. Because Sky the Third is really an epilogue. This is the big bad. And man, did he pump fake me. And as a mastermind, evil villain who really is evil, unlike most of the antagonists in the Trail series, he does what he does well. He really works. He is a very memorable villain. He's terrifying. He's an A tier character. I don't think he's S, but I do think he's A, and I think he's top of A. Okay? That's what I think. Renne, I almost said the wrong thing. Renne Hayworth, through the Sky Trilogy, is also a character who I really did not like at first. But by the end of Sky the Third, which is what we are talking about here, you understand who she is, you understand why she is. The tragedy hits really hard. Renne is a fan favorite of the series, and I'm not about to be a contrarian there. I like Renne as a character too. That Star Door was one of those watershed moments in the Trail series when I realized, oh, this is one of the best video game series of all time. They're willing to take risks. They're willing to tell something that's really, really heart-wrenching. And I don't need to spoil more. You either know, if you don't know, then I'm not going to spoil it. And if you do know, then you know. And you know the journey Renne is on at this point, and you can see it underway. At this point, it's extraordinarily compelling. It's one of the loose ends that absolutely pulled me right in the crossbow. Yeah, I would probably put her between Louvet and Richard. I really like Richard. I would probably put Renne here, though. An extraordinarily compelling character. Joshua Bright is the unsung hero of the Sky duology. Everybody talks about how amazing Estelle is because she is, and we're going to talk about her in a minute. But Joshua plays such a huge role in making Estelle work. He is an amazing foil to her throughout the entire first game. He's a badass character besides that, with a really tragic backstory. The ending of Trail's first chapter, especially the remake, guys, did you guys beat the remake? It gave me chills. Johnny Young Bosch crushed this role. Joshua doesn't get nearly enough play or love as he deserves. He is a very complicated and compelling character with a lot of layers. He hides a lot of that under a lighthearted, cool-headed facade. But yeah, he's an amazing character. I would probably put him between Louvet and Renne. like, unsung champion who does a lot more work than I think the community gives him credit for in carrying that duology and making it the masterpiece that, in my opinion, it is. And that just leaves Estelle. I mean, come on. This is one of the most well-written protagonists of all time. A teenager who is plausibly a teenager. A newbie and a rookie who makes a lot of mistakes and learns from them and picks herself up by the bootstraps and tries again. She shines like the sun, just like Joshua says. She's personified sunlight, right? Ouroboros tries to snag her, and they realize you cannot, right? She is just an iron fortress. You cannot make her do bad. She is good to the last fiber of her being. She uplifts the people around her. She is extraordinarily emotionally intelligent, with some of the best dialogue you've ever seen. Without spoiling anything, she pulls many people back from the brink by just being human sunlight. How can you not love this character? Like, yeah, she's peak. I would... Oh, man, where do I put her? You know what? Take it, Estelle. Like, a part of me wants to put her... Like, if it was just me, I would probably put her here. But she is an outstanding protagonist. She deserves all the love she gets. Take the crown, Queen. You are one of my favorite protagonists of all time. And that is all I have to say about it. Guys, this has been a really long video. Is my thing in the way? Let me, like, shrink my head here. It is, too. Guys, this has been a really long video. But this is my finished tier list. What do you think? How do you think I did? Who did I miss? Who did I overrate? Who did I underrate? I really want to hear about it. Again, this is just for fun. I hope you had a really good time riding along with me. Otherwise, you guys know the routine. This is Nick BRPG. I love Trails here. I talk about all things RPG, with JRPGs and turn-based RPGs being my absolute favorite. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.